What more tragic figure than Willie James Howard, a 15-year-old boy, Suwannee County, Florida, 1944, who was murdered, actually lynched, for writing a love letter to a white girl. Mind you, Emmett Till was lynched in Money, Mississippi in 1955. This happened in Florida almost a decade, over a decade earlier, and not a whimper. No response outside of Live Oak itself. What more tragic figure than his mother, Lula Howard? Willie James was her only son when he was taken by 3 white men, including the father of this girl that he wrote the letter to. Taken out to the Suwannee River, tied hands and feet, and forced to jump into the river or get shot. And he jumped and he drowned. And his mother didn't really know what happened to him for almost 3 weeks. The father was made to go to this lynching, made to watch it. And then they took him back to work after they killed his son. And he didn't tell his mother, the boy's mother, what happened for 3 weeks. He just said, Willie James isn't coming home. You can't make up a story more powerful than that. Her sister told me, Mamie Perry, her sister told me, she never smiled after that happened, Dr. Dunn. It broke her heart, and I think it killed her. It took years for it to happen. How could you conjure up a more brutal story than what happened to Claude Neal, a man who was made to eat his own genitals before they lynched him? What better hero could be invented than Harry T. Moore? Harry T. Moore, arguably, in my opinion, the bravest man who ever walked in Florida, with the possible exception of Osceola. And most people have no idea who he was or what happened to him on the night of Christmas 1951, when the Klan, we're sure, placed a bomb, and then you're going to have to hold on until we get the technology ahead of me. The Klan placed a bomb underneath the home of the Moores, killed Mr. Moore outright. His wife died a few days later. Why? Why did they kill him? Just go to Moore, please. All right, just until we get the technology. That's where we are, where we should be. The reason they killed, this is important. For a long time, it was thought that Harry T. Moore was killed. Go back. Is it going by itself? Okay, we got to stop this because we need to have let's just hold on for a second because the film is getting ahead of us. Are we ready? Okay. Harry T. Moore was killed because he was registering blacks to vote in rural counties in Florida in the 1930s. Can you imagine getting into his car most Sunday afternoons with his wife and his 2 daughters and driving through rural counties registering blacks to vote in the 1930s and 1940s? Harry T. Moore knew that sooner or later blacks were going to be allowed to join the Democratic Party in Florida, and that's why he was registering people to vote in the 1940s ahead of this change. And that's why they killed him. It wasn't because he was criticizing Southern sheriffs, Florida sheriffs, for lynchings. It was because he had placed his hands on the lever of political power in the state of Florida. What more disputable, horrible villain could we have than the mayor, the sheriff of Lake County? Let's go to the next slide. That's Willis McCall. Willis McCall was sheriff of Lake County. He was our Bull Connor. This photograph was taken of him right after he shot two men who were a part of the so-called Groveland 4 incident, in which 4 black men were accused of raping a white woman, and Willis ended up killing one of these men while he was in his custody. As a matter of fact, Willis also stomped to death a man named Tommy Vickers from Miami. Willis was a very, very typical Southern sheriff at the time. I just want to read for a moment what he said about blacks, give us an idea of the kind of mentality that a lot of people had at the time. And the story about what happened with Tommy Vickers is important. Tommy Vickers was probably mentally retarded at his third, and he was arrested in Miami and taken to Lake County to Willis's jail, and Willis stomped him to death and was tried for murder for it. And when he was on the stand, here's what Sheriff McCall said happened with Tommy Vickers the night that he stomped him to death. I popped him twice with my open hand. So supposedly Vickers was causing a disturbance in the jail, so Willis had to take care of that. I popped him twice with my open hand on the nape of the neck. He looked up at me and shook his head. At this point, he went over and sat down as calm as can be. This is when I said, quote, "That damn nigger ain't as crazy as he would have you believe." McCall was charged with murder in the Vickers case. Few blacks in Lake County were surprised by the not guilty verdict. When giving his assessment of blacks, McCall wrote, "Just as long as you got a little bunch of them together, you're going to have a little bolita, a little moonshine, and a whole lot of sex. Anybody that don't understand that, don't understand them, and that's all there is to it."